All right. I think I'm just going to start. Um, cool. So, hey everyone, thanks for joining in again. Today is the second workshop at the Eat for All series, and we have Arvind here with us, who's the co-founder at Arcana, and he'll be talking about Arcana, how it is making Web3 adoption super simple, and given that we are looking for Web3 to get into the masses, seamless onboarding is the way to go. So, folks, if you want to, if you're looking to, sort of super simplify the UX in your DApp as well, especially the onboarding part, this is the workshop for you. So, thanks a lot, Arvind, for taking out the time. Handing it over to you.
Thank you, Aniket. Great to see over 50 folks join in late in the evening. So in this session, I will touch upon two parts, right? So one is give an overview of what does good onboarding look like? What are some of the things you should keep in mind depending on your use case? Second, what we can do and how we do it. And I will do that by walking you through our live SDK, which is in a sandbox environment. I'll also share the link with you folks, and taking you through our docs so you know which parts to refer to when you have to build out something. Great. So to start off with, what does a great onboarding look like? Right. So imagine a user enters a dApp for the first time, right? Now, they're either a new to Web3 user or an existing Web3 user, right? Now, if they are existing, they already have a wallet perhaps set up. So in that case, you want to ensure that you are able to onboard as many people as possible who are already holding wallets, right? So the go-to is to support MetaMask. Now, what if they don't have MetaMask, right? So then you look at either aggregating all the different wallets through something like Wallet Connect, or adding individual wallets one by one based on your priority because you want to optimize the UX. The second is to use a good UX framework, something like Rainbow Kit or Dynamic, etc., to aggregate these different wallets so that you show the most relevant wallet to the user the first time they visit it, right? And then you can do some nicer things like knowing what was the last wallet that they used on your app and showing that as a top preference, and showing which are the wallets that are installed so they can pick and choose. If they have 3 different wallets, they know that out of the 100 wallets you support, the 3 that they have are at the top, right? So it makes the decision of figuring out which wallet to pick, which address to pick, etc., very easy. Now, if they're not a new to Web3 user, you want something like Arcana, where you can onboard them with just their email ID, right? Now, there are 2 ways we have seen developers solve this. One, they use a provider like ours that creates the wallets, or they just onboard them with email ID and then make them go through the friction of having to set up MetaMask, etc. That's what you had to do earlier when solutions like ours did not exist, where you have to split those 2 stages, where at least you can allow them to experience the app and then get started. But now you can straight away integrate us. For cases where your app is not ready to onboard new to Web3 users by exposing them to the different parts of like smart contracts and tokens, etc., what you can do is onboard them with email, but don't show them the wallet part of our service, and you hide it and expose it only when they either reach a certain stage or after X number of days has elapsed and they have used the app, right? And then you expose them that, hey, when you're onboarded, we have created a wallet for you, or rather you have created a wallet with your email ID, and now you can start interacting, right? So you get the option of simplifying UX and the complexity of the app, and at the same time giving users their wallet, right? So this is the first part of onboarding. Users get a wallet. Now, there are 2 other parts to it for a user to successfully interact with the app, right? One, you need the token with which you need to interact with the app, which can be a native token, USDT, USDC, or something else in case, let's say, you're doing a swap. The second is you need the gas token, right, to pay the native token to pay gas fees, right? And if you look at the traditional journey, let's say, even if I'm from MetaMask or somewhere else, I would create the wallet and I see that it's empty. I need to then top it up with a particular token, let's say USDT, to buy an NFT, right? And then I go to an exchange to figure out where do I uh, uh, load up my wallet. I enter my card details. It asks me to do a KYC, which can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 days. And then I figure out how to navigate that exchange, enter my card details, wait for it to get approved. Once the token is bought, then I transfer it from the exchange to my wallet address, right? So this can easily take anywhere between 1 hour to 2 days, like I mentioned, but excluding the KYC delays, at least it takes an hour for a user to get started. Now, the other option is, or you add the integration of on-ramp providers directly into your app, right? So that they log in, and then the first thing they see is that they can buy with their credit card. What this does is eliminates the need for doing KYC up to a certain limit, right? So, and which is usually enough for users to get started and at least do a couple of transactions, right? So now we have solved the crypto on-ramp, at least solved it in the context of what they had to do earlier, right? The second part is, now that you have USDT and you are about to place a trade or buy an NFT or book a hotel or make a post, and now you need to pay gas fees. And then you figure out, okay, what chain you are on. Then you go buy the token again and come back, deposit, and then use it to pay, right? The better alternative is to add gasless, right? Where for users who are transacting either for the first time or they pay you with some other payment mechanism, you instead pay the gas fee on their behalf, right? And there are two ways to make this payment. One is either you pay the ERC20 token directly, or you make allow the user to pay the ERC20, right? It has slightly higher costs than just paying direct gas fees in native tokens, but it massively simplifies figuring out gas and what tokens to hold, etc. Right? So once you look at all these three parts, right, creating wallet, on-ramping from fiat to crypto, and the ease of doing gasless, now you have reduced the time a user takes from login to first transaction to literally minutes, right? Sometimes even seconds, right? This you can further optimize by knowing which users are worth perhaps sponsoring, or what parts of your app you can delay the need for making a transaction, right? Can they play a game without having to buy an NFT? Can they make a post without making it on chain, right? Etc. Can they get a free mint to perhaps place a trade or bet on a team in a fantasy football game, etc. Right? So all these tweaks will help you give that first experience of delight for your users without having to go through the friction. Great. So that was a bit brief of how you could perhaps do good UX. Some says we don't get sound. Aniket, is it just Nishad, or are you able to hear me?
Yep, able to hear you.
Oh, great. Yes, Suresh, I will get to the point about speed as well as the security points that you raised. Right, so that's what we do at Arcana. So we essentially build a suite of infra products as SDKs for developers to build scalable, performant apps that will ultimately make your users' UX better, right? Anything that improves usability, we will be building products for that. Three products that we currently have are Auth, Store, and Access. The first product that has gone live to our mainnet is Auth, and that is what you will see here on our website, where the goal for Auth is extremely simple. It is to make Web3 adoption easy and reduce the time it takes from first login to transaction in seconds. Right. We have a bunch of features that we can choose to make this happen, like on-ramps, multi-factor authentication, gasless, customization, white labeling, etc. I will take you through a sample demo app now to show you what this looks like. So this is a sandbox link. I'll share both the sandbox link as well as the Auth app itself. Let me minimize the questions. Great. So this is a demo app where we have shown essentially what the Auth SDK is capable of, right? So you can imagine the Auth SDK to be of two parts. One is the login flow itself, right? Of where you show the different mechanisms for users to log in. The second is the wallet experience, right? So once they've logged in, they get a wallet. How do they then interact with different smart contracts and different addresses? So the first step of the login page. So let me refresh this. Sure it's up to date. This as well. Right. So one of the things that we have built to make it easy is a plug and play login, where you can pick and choose what providers you want to support. You can choose light or dark mode and just copy a couple of lines of code and you have a nicely designed login pop-up, right? And we handle all the states of error messages, progress bars, alerts, etc. So you don't have to handle it. Now, either you can choose this, or you can also, of course, write your own custom login page. So here you would see that there is email and Google. We support in total about 5 to 6 providers. So we have passwordless email and Gmail, Reddit, Twitch, Twitter, Discord, and GitHub. Right? You can pick and choose which ones, all or none, based on your needs. So passwordless email is straightforward. You enter an email ID, you get a link in your inbox, you click on that link, and you're logged in. Right? So you're not even relying on any third-party identity provider to let you access, right? Email is open to anybody to create an account and receive emails in the inbox. So let me choose Gmail. And once you select a provider, the flow for that auth is standard to what each individual provider has their own implementation. Right? So this progress bar is again something that's part of the plug and play UI itself. Right. So now what's happening is the SDK is requesting to the network that this user is trying to log in, give them keys, right? The network in turn checks, is this a new user or a returning user? If it's a new user, we assign a key from a buffer of keys that are pre-generated. If it's an existing user, the keys that they've already owned are streamed. And the nodes themselves that power this part of key generation are run by this cryptography called distributed key generation. So no single node at any time holds the entire key, right? They generate parts of the private key, store it, and then stream it back to the front end when the user authenticates themselves, right? So it's only at the front end that the key is ever reconstructed into the full string. So that also sort of answers your question of the security of how these keys are ensured, that they are safe and no one else has access to it. And that is how we are also able to claim that these keys are non-custodial, right? We don't run it on an AWS server where we manage access to those keys. These are decentralized across different validator nodes that participate in our network. And once the key is sent to the front end, reconstructed into the full private key, it initializes the web wallet that you see here, right? And this web wallet is an in-app widget, so you don't have to install any extensions or apps or plugins, etc. It's part of the SDK itself. And it has all the basic functionalities that you need to start interacting with the app, right? So let me first show you the basics of the wallet itself. So there are a bunch of functions that the user can do within the wallet UI. There are a bunch that the developer themselves can trigger, right, programmatically. This is a standard set of features you need for managing tokens. We have Ethereum and Polygon mainnet and testnet pre-configured. You can also pass your own network. So when you initialize the wallet, you can set what should be the default chain with which the app should load, right? So in this case, it's Ethereum mainnet. You can set it to be, say, Polygon Mumbai testnet as the default when you initialize the SDK, the wallet. Send, receive ERC20 tokens. Here you can see all the assets. You can add a new ERC20. And this is for your NFTs. So you can see all the NFTs that's in your wallet. You can hit manage and add either NFT token ID or the contract ID. And close. This is your profile section. So it shows your basic details. And you can also export your wallet address, your private key. Right? This is a testnet, so I have no issues showing my private key. Right? So this you can then copy and download so that you can import it back into MetaMask, Coinbase wallet, etc. And this is the activities tab where you can see all your transactions. Right? And these transactions are session based. So once you clear the app, it goes away. So let me show you some programmatic ways to perform the actions. Right? So Connect brought up the login button. So you can imagine this to be a login button on your page that then brings up the pop-up. And if I do get accounts, I get my current account address, right? So with this, I can, let's do add chain, right? So right now I'm programmatically adding a chain that doesn't exist in the list, which in this case is Shadia with Ethereum. Okay, they were change the hard-coded network, but essentially you can add a network of your choice that's not in the list. And then you can also trigger a switch where you point what network you should switch to, and the user just has to approve it, right? So they don't have to manually go to it. So if you see here from mainnet, it switched to testnet, right? Similarly for add token, let me get accounts. Yeah, so this is what users would most likely see. This would be the most frequent interaction, where you would ask them to sign messages, right? Which can either be for a signature, or they're signing a personal signature, or they're doing a send transaction, or they're interacting with the contract. In all cases, the widget will automatically open up, show you the network you're currently on, the action you're about to perform, and you can approve or reject, right? So this is rejected. Let me do a send. So send, again, programmatic, you can pass the details, and then you can do approve. It does not go through because there's perhaps no balance in this. Yeah, insufficient funds, right? So all of these are possible because we use a standard Ethereum provider, right? So whatever you can do with MetaMask, you can programmatically do with our wallet as well. Great. So before I dive into the docs, let me see if you guys have any questions.
If you want, I can help read out some of the questions.
No, that's okay. There are just about 7. Where do you store the private key or mnemonic keys assigned to the email account? Yeah, so there's no mnemonic here, primarily because the keys themselves are generated on a curve, and different chains use different curves. And every node is responsible for generating a point on that curve, but they don't know who else is responsible for which other points. So it's a way to securely generate parts of a private key without exposing the full private key. And these nodes store them, and they're also rotated amongst themselves so that they don't exist on any node for a long enough period of time. And at minimum, they're split into 7 shares. Pranav, Jake, can this auth be integrated to mobile apps? How is this different from magic.link? So if it is so when you say mobile app, I'm guessing you mean an app that you can actually install on the mobile. We do have SDKs in the works. Currently, it's not yet released. But if you mean, is it mobile responsive? Yes, the widget will resize. And there are some fixes we're making so that you can invoke the wallet on the click of a button instead of a persistent widget. So the SDK for mobile and Unity Unreal should be released within the next 6 to 8 weeks. How is it different from Magic Link? It's similar in a lot of ways to the end user, at least. But the primary difference is in the infrastructure that generates and secures these keys, right? So Magic Link runs on AWS, it uses HSM. And what we do is it's decentralized, open source, with validators independently running our node. So that is a major difference. The others are around pricing, support, the integration experience itself. And there are a bunch we have done to optimize on speed, how long it takes to load the wallet, how do you transition between different tabs, etc. The other thing that users find a lot of value in, both users and developers that use us, is being able to export your private key from within the wallet, which you can't do, or if you want to, it's very convoluted to do on Magic Link, right? And their base product gives only app-specific keys, where it's unique to every app. Versus in Arcana, you can choose between an app-specific key and a global key, right? An app-specific key is unique to that particular app, uh, whereas a global key is common across apps that have integrated Arcana. So a user can buy an NFT on one website and then go to a staking platform, log in to the same email ID, and then list it there, right? Without having to transfer it between the apps. So ultimately, it's a choice between, do you want to use something that's centralized, closed, and sort of custodial, or something that's open, uh, permissionless, and decentralized? Which blockchain network will be supported by this account? So we currently only support EVM chains. You would have seen Ethereum and Polygon come out pre-configured. You can programmatically add and switch chain as well. So basically, any EVM chain that you want can be added. We will roll out support for multi-chain within the end of this quarter. Can you please tell some points on which Arcana is different from MetaMask? Okay, Chetan, so we don't really look at it as competing with MetaMask. So we want apps to have both of these side by side. So users who have or want to use MetaMask have that option, and users who don't know how to use it can see an email. And we see it as a progression, right? So you start off with this, you become more aware of how to do self-custody well, how to do hot wallets, cold wallets, hardware wallets, and you go through that journey of being educated and awareness. So both exist side by side. They serve different audience, right? And we have seen typically when developers add social login to their apps from just having MetaMask, they see anywhere between 50 to 90% increase in the number of users who come on board. So basically, it's a jump in their conversion rates, right? So you're in fact bringing on more users than you would have without it. How does Arcan ensure the key pairs from the pool given to users onboarded through email is not leaked? So the only user who can prove to the network that they own that email ID is the user, right? So unless the network gets that token to verify that they are the ones who hold it, the network will not give them the key. And second, it's also given only in parts, right? And the front-end SDK recreates it. And the validators are all independent nodes, so they can't collude, and there are mechanisms to incentivize and disincentivize what they do. But the larger point is, it's open source, so anybody can verify what's actually happening within the code base that these nodes and gateway nodes and validators run. The more complex answer is it uses sort of cryptography called Shamir secret sharing that runs asynchronous DKG, and there's a bunch of research papers around how this helps you to securely generate key pairs and exchange it amongst parties that either don't trust or don't know. Link to this code, I'm guessing you are referring to the sandbox. We'll paste this link. No two person can get the same account. Do you mean the same public address? It's similar to how you don't get the same account if you go to MetaMask and create a new wallet, right? The probability of that happening are extremely low. Where can we find private key derivation details, which KDF algorithm is used, etc. I'll link you the technical paper of our DKG, so you can read more about how the keys are generated, derived, reconstructed, etc.
Cool. Folks, if you have more questions, feel free to put that in the Q&A box.
Great. Fantastic. So to the last part of our session today, let me jump into the docs. It's fairly straightforward. I know I'll be biased when I say that, but I just want to point out a couple of things of how to navigate this. So the first step you want to do is go to a dashboard. Most of the content that you want, you will find right in these 5 tabs, right? But there are other code samples, guides, etc. if you want to refer, but these should be enough for you to get started. Right. So you go to a developer dashboard where you can create an app. The first thing you'll get is an app ID. So keep that app ID. You'll be using it later. And the rest are steps to configure the login mechanisms you want to support. So you create an app, you get the app ID, and then here you can see the configure section where you set up basic branding details, the auth mechanisms you want to support, and some wallet config options, right? So this social auth setup is very standard. It's very similar to how you would have added, say, Gmail or Facebook login to your any other Web2 app. So it's the same client ID, redirect URLs, etc. And once you're done, you can go to configuring the auth usage. Right. So based on which providers you want to support, you can refer to their individual items. So you see Discord, GitHub, Google, Twitch, and Twitter. This is the integration step. So depending on which, if you're using Vanilla.js, React, or Vue, you can refer to the individual sections. If you do use React, we just released today a WAGMI connector, as well as support for Rainbow Kit. So Rainbow Kit essentially allows you to do a nice pop-up. So this is in dark mode, where you can just see all the wallet options. And then to get a wallet, it's just a front-end framework. It doesn't talk to any backend, etc. So it's a quick way to add a decent UI for multi-wallets, right? And then WAGMI allows you to write one connector and then interface with different wallets, so you don't have to deal with the complexities of talking to different providers, right? And both are supported if you building on React. So this is the part where you'll figure out how to actually implement the login, right? So the first option is the plug and play auth, which I showed, where the design is the HTML, CSS pre-written, all the messages are handled. So you can use plug and play, or you can directly go to social auth and see how to write your own custom UI UX. And the last part is enabling the Arcana wallet, right? So now you've onboarded users, you've designed the login flow, it's successful when they've entered the app. So how should the wallet interface? The first thing you can do is decide where do you want to place the wallet. The default is on the right-hand corner, like you would have seen in the Sandbox app. Theme, light mode, dark mode. So the app I showed you is dark mode. So you can switch to light mode, which is mostly white and gray as well. Network, chain config, redirect URI are all straightforward. You'll find the redirect URI on the dashboard. Right, so here are some sample codes for what you need to set. Visibility is in 2 modes, where you can either make it persistent, visible all the time, or you hide the wallet and it only shows up when the user has to approve or reject a transaction, right? And you can switch this on and off anytime you prefer. So here it says always visible false, full UI is always visible equal to true. And this is where you'd set that field. Add switch. Again, these are standard functions that you would have used anyway in other wallets. The one thing you have to do in our case is define this constant auth provider and then import it. And remember earlier, when you created an app, you got an app address, and this is where you would paste that, right? So then once it's initialized, there is a provider, and we do have examples for using Ether.js or Web3.js as well. Let me see where that is. Should be in, I think, the sticky usage guide. Yeah, so here you see a quick start for Ether.js as well as Web3.js. Right? Depending on which one you want, you can use both. Right? So if you refer to these sections and then the SDK usage guide for where exactly, depending on which JS library you're using, that should be enough for you to get started. If you are more curious, you can dive into the reference guides, handling auth errors, troubleshooting, as well as our technical paper. So here you will see the technical paper for our auth. And that covers the information about the DKG, how it's generated, retrieved, reconstructed, etc. Yeah, just a heads up that please don't refer our video tutorials. We are yet to update it with our 1.0 release that we did a couple of days ago. So some of the steps might be outdated, but it's a good it's a good overview of what is capable by the wallet. But anyway, I've shown you the demo. But in case you're interested, you can check it, but don't use it as a reference for integration. Yep, that concludes our session. Let me take.
There are some questions if you have the time to take it.
If a person logs out, then the account is returned to pool or is it deleted? That's a great question. So once a person is assigned a key, that key belongs to them forever. Right now, we don't have delete keys at all, but we do intend to add the ability for the user to delete their keys if they need. Typically, you see this happening when you want to export your private key and completely move to self-custody and want to ensure that no other system has your key. So you can request a key deletion. And an account can hold multiple keys where they have one global key and then multiple app-specific keys depending on how many apps they have logged into and if the developer has chosen app-specific keys as their config option. Right? And of course, they'll also have different keys if they're on different chains as well. How is Arcana different from QRDO? It's interesting. Radical new. There are quite a few products similar to this. We'll have to dig in deeper into this. But for us, what we focus on is instead of looking at how many competitors come up is constantly improving on our DKG and the cryptography. So we spend a lot of time, effort, and resources on cryptography research. The second is just pure product and execution, where we look at, like I had mentioned earlier, the amount of time it takes to integrate, latency, throughput, UI, UX, so that our customers don't lose users because of bottlenecks on our product, right? So ultimately, it comes down to these two, the architecture and how well each individual features have been executed across all these different products. And we've been building this for almost a year and a half now. So there's got a lot of improvements that have gone in from the time we started to the two test nets to the main net that we released a couple of days ago. Can we create a temporary wallet just to accept crypto and convert to fiat? So there is no real need Pawan, to create a temporary wallet, because you can just create a wallet, and if you still need to convert to fiat, you can just transfer it from that wallet back, right? Now, the reason you can't create temporary wallet is because, one, there is no key deletion, and even if it was, it would be in the user's control, and as a dev, you can't initiate a key deletion. What are the two other things Arcana deals with other than auth? So the two other products right now are in store and access. So store is decentralized storage, and access allows on-chain access control, where you can give DIDs to files and define access policies so that only users or public addresses that fulfill those policies can get access to content, right? So you can do interesting things like token gating, exclusive memberships, privacy-focused social networks, or followers-only content, things like that. Or you can even query on-chain data through something like Graph and check if the rule you have defined from that on-chain data resolves to a certain value, then that address gets access, right? So it's a way to do sort of IAM on-chain without having to rely on centralized servers. Great. Anonymous asks, where can I get the recording of this meeting? I think
We'll take care of that. Yeah. So it's already live on YouTube. It's going to be in the Eat for All playlist. So you can access it.
Can we pay for your service automatically from the smart contract using Chainlink automation? So Ajit, one of the product design decisions that we have made is to make it friendly to both Web2 and Web3 developers. So there is no need to lock up your tokens to use our service. We have a free plan of over 2,000 users per month. So you can get started without dropping in your credit card. And end of the month, based on the number of users who have logged into your app, you will be billed, and you can pay it, like I said, at the end of the month, right? Based on that calculation, it's a fixed pricing. So we charge $2.50 per 100 users as a launch offer, $2.50 per 100 users as a launch offer right now. And based on the multiples of that, if you have say 1,000 users, you would pay $25. And this is assuming it's above the free tier, right? And you can either pay with your fiat, debit, or credit card through Stripe, or you can pay through some whitelisted tokens, which also will include Arcana tokens, but all of this will be fixed price, right? So you will not pay a variable amount based on, like, say, our token price. And we don't have a token live yet, so it won't be possible either. So short answer is no, you won't be able to pay from smart contracts.
All right, sounds good. That was really helpful, Arvind. I think we got a good number of questions, but pretty sure like when people will be building on Arcana, there would be questions coming in. So folks, feel free to use the Arcana channel on the Eat for All Discord. People will be there to help you out in case you have any queries, you're stuck on it. So yeah. And Arvind, thanks a lot for taking out the time and making it to the workshop here. I think a lot of people who are already interested in building on Arcana, they will, they have learned quite a few things, and then I'm pretty sure they would be revisiting the live stream again, like to learn a lot more things. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing some cool projects being built on Arcana.
So thank you so much for having us. It's been great, thoughtful questions. One last thing. Would you like me to share the links on chat, or shall I just send it to you, Aniket, so you can share it with the community?
You can just DM it to me. I'll forward it on the Eat for All Discord channel. Sure.
Yeah. One point I forgot to mention, folks, is that when you initialize the auth and the wallet, you need to mention the network. So network equal to testnet or mainnet. That got missed out in our docs. So by default, when you create an app on the dashboard, it will be on testnet. Later, you'll have to toggle it to mainnet. So when you integrate the SDK as well, mention that the network : testnet. Yeah, and like Aniket mentioned, feel free to either hop on our Discord or on the channel that we have on Devfolio, and we are available 24/7 to help you guys.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, folks, for joining in. I think that we can conclude the workshop today. And we also have just prepared a very small questionnaire for the participants to go through and answer. So I'm just going to drop that in the chat right now. And yeah, thanks Arvind once again. We'll be seeing you soon.
Great. Thank you, Aniket.
Thanks everyone.